everybody once we get going. Oh, and there's Helen. There's Helen herself. Let's say hello to Helen. Shall we see if
Hi.
we can unmute you? There we go. Hi, Helen.
I'm muted.
Not now, you're not. We can hear you now. How are you?
Good, thank you. Very good. Very good.
Blended. Nice to see you've had your hair cut. Look at that.
My haircut straight into the hairdressers when they opened. Yeah.
Were you? See, I haven't been, as you can probably see. I am still a hippie. So, yeah, it looks cool. It looks cool. Where's the BAFTA today? Is it not down in the?
It's in the living room.
Oh, it's in the living room. Does it move around the house?
Yeah, it depends because there's one person that comes to our house who's a bit clumsy, and obviously they don't come anymore. But I think they popped into our kitchen, and I didn't want them to knock it over.
Quite right too. Yes. Yeah.
They're really, really clumsy.
Okay. So, what have you been up to, Helen?
Oh, interesting. Not a lot. No, that sounds really boring. Um, Projects are starting to come back. That's quite interesting. Come September, things are starting to come back.
Yeah, because I know that before lockdown, you were actually in Glasgow, weren't you?
Yeah, in the middle of a project that had to be cut short, and
Yeah.
that's not going to get finished till February next year. But there's some smaller things that aren't big studio projects coming up. Hopefully, cross fingers, later on in the year. So
Yep.
I just keep fit, and I go swimming in the River Thames now.
Do you? Well, I saw yesterday on Facebook you'd done a run to Oxford.
We
Right.
go to the park and ride, and then run into Oxford and all around the canals and things. Yeah, it's nice.
Oh, I see. So you go to the park and ride.
Well, I'm dropped to the park and ride, and then I didn't run from here. That's miles. So then you
I was
run
gonna
all
say.
around the canals and into Oxford. Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Oh, that's still good though. That's still good, isn't it? Good, good, good. And everybody else good? Is your other half taking photos of people and doing things, or?
Yeah, there's a job coming up in a studio in the BT Studios, which is in Stratford.
Okay.
A program that I'm not a great fan of. I don't know if anyone on this thing has seen it, called Hey Tracy. It got really bad reviews. It's not very good, but it's presented by Joel Dommett.
Okay.
And but it's going again. They want to make it again, so it just shows you it doesn't have to be good. But he's going to take photos. But we're just obviously every production now has to have these guidelines of how you do everything, and so we're just waiting to see what they've put in place. It's normally done with an audience, and there's no audience, which is good because that makes a lot of space.
Yeah. 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 So what? I
So-
mean, it seems to be there's a lot of stuff out there that isn't what we would class as good, but it gets commissioned again and again. I mean, is that just down to everybody's personal opinion on what's good and what isn't good, or is there a hidden agenda somewhere where somewhere in the BBC somebody's going, oh, we've got to have more of this type of show, whether it be live audience, whether it be a younger people, whether it be older kids or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure because Hey Tracy was originally made to go after Love Island, and obviously Love Island wasn't made, and it's full of Love Island, ex-Love Islanders, a lot of them, or comedians.
Ah,
I
okay.
think it's an ITV show, and I suspect that they need Joel Dommett. They might have Joel Dommett, the presenter, on a contract that he has to do so many things, and I suspect that this is one of those things that he might have to do.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because
So,
that's how if you're working for BBC or the ITV, you're contracted, and that means they want to get their money's worth, and
yeah,
so they put you on all sorts of shows and bits and pieces and
yeah.
all stuff like that. Interesting. Good, good, good.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look at that. It is 10 o'clock officially, so let's officially kick this baby off. Welcome to our webinar with the one and only BAFTA-winning producer, director, what else? Everything else of children's television, of mainstream television, of Amazon Prime, BBC, ITV, Channel 5. It goes on and on and on. And we are so lucky to have her here with us today. So a massive, great welcome. Let's give her a nice TV Training Academy warm round of applause there. Thank you for joining us. It's so appreciated. What we're going to be looking at is we're going to look, I think, at a lot of children's TV and talk about that. But I going to start off by looking a little bit at some just the similarities really between children's TV and mainstream TV. And if this is the first time you've joined us, where have you been? But the way this works is I ask a few questions. I say a few. It usually goes on a bit, and somebody tells me to shut up, and then I'll open it up to everybody else who's joining us, and you can ask questions. And if you're watching live on Facebook, you can pop a question on Facebook, and we'll get that. Or you can send us a text or whatever. You do all that hashtag stuff, whatever that is. Okay, so first of all, then, when it comes to presenting. There are a lot of similarities between the actual performance and the techniques that we use, whether that be children's, whether that be adult. So what are those important aspects then of a presenter when it comes to talking and delivering to camera? What are the things that we should be thinking of? Because I know, having done this, and I know you know this as well, a lot of the time a brand new presenter seems to have in their head, as long as I get the words out in the right order, I'll be all right. Is that good enough?
No, in fact, if you don't get the words out in the right order, that doesn't really matter in many ways. What matters is that you have a warm, genuine connection with the camera, so that you are anyone can spot. The biggest thing people will spot is someone who isn't genuine, or they just will turn off, or they won't like it. So if it's the warmth and it's a natural genuineness, I think, behind the camera. So if you make mistakes and you fluster like I'm doing now a bit, like if you sort of mess up or you're not sure what to say, I don't think that matters, as long as you've got a nice warm personality coming through and a genuine quality. That's so important. Some people, when they start presenting, try and present or think there is a style that you present, so they get quite cocky with it and they start to do kind of presenting like it should be presented, and that is exactly what nobody wants that. They just want something unique to you, and also your personality obviously has to fit with the producers that you're connecting with. So again, some producers will be drawn to certain personalities, whereas other producers will be drawn to different personalities. So it doesn't mean you're right or wrong. You've just got to find your fit, I think.
Yeah, and that's kind of really different to how perhaps actors would approach it, or any other discipline, in as much as, an actor might say, oh yeah, no, I can do that, I can play that part, I can do period drama, I can do Shakespeare, I can do contemporary, I can do stage, I can do this, that and the other. Whereas a presenter, we're more just sort of saying, well, look, this is the genuine me, and you've got to be brave enough to let people see that, of course, because it's kind of scary, especially if you've been acting. But this is who I am. Where do I fit? And then it's about finding that fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with the techniques, then I think it's very similar in a way. If you've got the screen techniques, so things like when you can look away from the lens, when is that okay? When is it okay to move? When do we have to anchor ourselves and be more stable? How do we interview and all those things? Those skills are pretty much the same, really.
Yes, all those things are the same for children's wherever. I would say that the difference in children's is it's a kind of microcosm of the wider television world. So whereas there's a documentary style, there's a more of a performance style, there's more of an upbeat live entertainment show style. They're all different styles, and that's all in children's. We have all of those within children's. So you'll have your multi-camera live thing with Sam and Mark, you'll have your documentary things with Steve Baxall or Andy Day. You've got this, and the only thing that you have to be careful of, I think, that differs in children's is the language you use and the age you're pitching it at. So you've got to be very careful about language.
Yeah.
Other than that, the kind of, it's all the same. It's all connected. It's just we have everything within children's.
Yeah, and do you think as well with children's, is it a case that people who have I'd say childlike is the right word, but imagination that they can use. I'm thinking really of when it comes to when you're talking with things like puppets and when you're doing sort of almost make believe stuff, but it's got to be genuine. So is there that creativity and that spark of childish interest? Is it good to have that still, more so as children's presenting?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to, even though you think what you're talking about might be a bit basic or a bit twee or something, if you believe it and you treat it with respect. So if you're talking to a puppet, that puppet is real. It's not a sort of silly thing or anything. It's real. I mean, I could do a whole thing on puppets. I was talking to Naomi, who's hello Naomi, about this. Is that puppets aren't just for children. So puppets are in advertising. I don't know if anyone's seen the new AA advert. It's got a beautiful dog puppet in it. It's absolutely stunning. So puppets are used across all of television to advertise. There's whole series made with puppets as well. So when you're dealing with a puppet in children's, you mustn't start to become, oh, this is a bit silly and a bit twee. You just got to believe it. I think puppets should be part of our lives generally. But I think we all need to get back, and particularly in times like this, to that sort of childish feeling, that open feeling that anything's possible and we can be silly and it doesn't matter what we look like. Because if you sort of believe what you're doing, however silly it is, it's great. You do a bit like Brian. He is completely silly.
What?
But it
You've got a question
it's
for Helen.
really,
I put that on the wrong way round. I tried to sneak it on and I put it on backwards. So it's like, there we go. Yes, you can be silly. It's fine, isn't it? Maybe I should be
yeah.
children's TV.
Pardon?
Maybe I should be children. I'm certainly silly enough.
It is. It's just believing. It's getting in touch with the side of you that's less bothered or less scared by what people think. We are all so worried about what people think so much of the time, and we've got to get out of that and think, well, it doesn't matter if I'm seen doing that. And that's how all children television presenters are. I can honestly say most of them are like they are in real life because they're being genuine about how stupid they are or silly they are. Andy Day is quite a big character. That is exactly how he is in real life. So none of them are changing really. Yeah.
That's a really interesting thing. It's a point for children's and adult presenting that we all have these. I don't know if they're insecurities, if they're worries and concerns about will people like me, will people think, what will they think of me? Will they think I'm stupid? And that, of course, then, if you are doing something with a puppet or doing something that's slightly daft,
Yeah.
and you're embarrassed in any way, or you feel silly in any way about doing it, it just comes through the screen, isn't it? So is that something we can practice and learn to just get rid of those insecurities? Or is it one of the things like some people either just don't care about what people think and other people are always going to have those insecurities?
I think there will always be some people who are totally lacking confidence to be silly or to be themselves in those circumstances, and there's always going to be the other side of the spectrum where people just don't care. But I think you can, to a certain extent, gain confidence in yourself. Brian mentioned it earlier, being an actor, you're playing a part. It's kind of, you can hide a bit. Being a presenter, you and with social media as it is today, you will be commented on, you will get things said about you, and you have to develop a sort of second skin. Now, if you are confident in yourself and who you are and what you're doing, then I think that's easier. I think if you're a person who isn't confident in yourself, then it isn't easy because all those comments will knock you back a little bit. But so you do have to find, and I know this isn't easy, I'm not saying you're going to find it tomorrow, but you have to find that ability to say, I'm okay. This is what I'm doing is okay. I'm good at this. I know what I'm doing. I love this. And I'm doing the right thing. And only ask for sort of proper feedback from people who are going to be kind and warm and good with it and don't listen to all the just nonsense that you get on social media is the thing. So it's learning to be confident. I can be silly. It doesn't matter. And most of the time when people are criticizing that, it's because they're too scared to be silly themselves or to be messed about or have fun in that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's almost like sometimes as you listen to the people who you respect, and the rest of it, you've got to have a little bit of a thick skin to let that just brush off in a way, and not really be looking for other people's approval. If you have your own approval, if you
Yeah.
think, you know what, I'm okay, I'm not, I'm not a bad person, I don't mean harm to anybody. Then you're kind of a bit bulletproof, really.
Yeah.
In just like in real life, some people are going to like you, some people take to you, and some
Absolutely.
people won't, and that's life. That's how it is. So yeah, just go out there and do it, and
Do
don't
it. And,
don't.
and if you're getting followers and people that are happy with what you're doing and interesting, and you're getting good feedback from those positive people, that's all you need. That's what you need to build on. Um,
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, what would you say then about being really as prepared as possible then for when you go and see producers, when you go and see directors, if you've got somebody's interest, you go to an audition. Is it okay to be a bit rough around the edges, or is it actually a huge advantage that somebody is really just totally at home in the studio environment and can use everything without even thinking twice about it? Does it depend on whether you just think their personality is bang on for it, so you'll go, okay, the fact that they've never used talkback or auto cue, or they don't know how to interview or anything like that, we'll let that slide? How is it? I suppose it's different for every production. I don't know.
it's slightly different for every production. I think the thing is, what you want to be is you want to have enough skills so that it doesn't put you off and nervous, because a producer or director can totally cope with you being a bit rough around the edges in one way if you're still fun and confident. If the rough around the edges and not knowing how to use auto cue and not knowing how to do certain things, or knowing how to sort of anchor yourself within a shot or whatever of a camera, makes you nervous and then not perform very well, then that isn't good. So I think you need to equip yourself with enough skills to mean that when you go in front of those producers, even if you're a bit rough around the edges about your content or just doing silly things, that you feel confident and that you don't get, there's a difference between messing up and being nervous and awkward, and then you'll make them feel awkward, and it won't be the best scenario. Whereas if you're confident, you mess up, you do something silly, but it's kind of funny, then they'll quite like that. That's charming. So there's a big difference there. I think that's
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So really, it is like confidence in what you're doing and being able to sort of brush off things that go wrong. And in live TV, I mean, is there always on every show something that goes a little bit, it's not wrong, but astray? It's not quite as planned.
yeah.
Easy as that.
There are things that go wrong that you'll actually see, and there are things that go wrong that you just won't know about because it's sort of hidden behind the scenes. And if it's handled well, again, it doesn't matter. But things go wrong all the time, and a bit like a play, sometimes you can miss out an entire section of a play, but the audience won't notice if you keep it going. Whereas if you miss out that part of the play and then keep getting awkward and nervous and stuff, then everyone will know. They might be a bit bemused about what the plot did, but they won't know if you're confident. And that's the same with the live shows and things that go wrong. I think television is never really ever going to be perfect, if that sounds, because even when you make a program, you edit it, it's all lovely, you still sit there thinking, why didn't I just do that? You're not trying to make perfect, you're trying to do the best you can as you go along with the budget you have. So I don't think anything's perfect. I just have to say, this is not random, but I've been over this pandemic watching Secret Eaters on Amazon Prime. I've watched them all before. Has anybody else watched them? Secret Eaters, and the presenter on that I absolutely love, and I can't remember her name. Is it Anna or anyone? But I love it. She sort of is one of my people that I think you should watch as a presenter, because I think she's so good.
Oh, Secret Eaters, what does she do? Just sort of secretly eat stuff?
No, she doesn't. She people say on the program, "Oh, I don't know why I'm getting big. I really have no idea. It's normally couples or three people. Think I don't know why I'm getting so big," and then they put cameras everywhere and they get private detectives and follow them, and it's obvious why they're so big. And then
Okay.
she has an instant room where they're shown all these things, but it's just the way she is. She's a very very good presenter that I recommend people look at because she's so good.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Something else that I wanted to ask you, Helen, was okay. So we've got ourselves our first job then on a
Yes.
production in a studio somewhere, and it's our first job. So we're dead excited, and we're going in there. We're doing our stuff in front of the camera. What about studio etiquette? Are there things that we should do, shouldn't do? Should we lend a hand if somebody? Should we offer to help shift a light or help do this, that, or the other? Or should we just stick to what we do and then go back to the wardrobe or go back to our dressing room or Winnebago on some of the shows that I've been on,
Yeah,
smoking my cigar?
if you're just going for an audition or say your first job, don't touch anything. Yeah, and certainly don't touch a prop table. I mean, if you're given a prop, that's fine, but don't touch the props where they're arranged or anything. Or certainly don't touch any lights or cables or anything. No. So in other words, listen very carefully to what you've got to do. I mean, if there was somebody struggling, not with a piece of technical equipment, but with needing another hand to put up something, you could offer to do it, but certainly don't just dive in and do it. Just offer to do it. Say, can I be of any help or anything? Because that will be nice. They'll see you as willing, but just don't go to pick anything up.
Sure. Quite. And what about in front of the camera as well? So if it is a new show that is starting, or well, any show actually, is it frowned upon or is it perfectly acceptable to say to your producer, director, or the creative team behind the show, say, oh, I think we should do it like this? How do you like it when a presenter says that to you, Helen?
It depends. If, I did work with it was a things for Channel 4 and it was a story time series, and we picked a lovely lady called Julie Bailey who did it. And when we auditioned for it, we wanted somebody who would be, part of the process of deciding how we did it and the stories. So she was very much asked to be involved. That was different. So it's very much listening to what they've said at the beginning. We wanted to be involved. So when the scripts came out, we talked to her through them and put them. I would say genuinely that most producers would look at the script with you and ask for your comments or help, and you might make small suggestions. I'd say when you first get a job, don't just say this is rubbish about the whole script, which I have to say is what some presenters who've been at it a long time do when they get a script. They just go, well, this is just no good. And you say, well, we've got to work with it, so let's just find a way. So that obviously happens as you go through. But yeah, just listen very carefully and try and gauge that producer or director. Do they want me to get involved, or they just want me to say it? But I think actually, if you were speaking lines or saying things that you just thought, well, this isn't quite right, I think offering just gentle tweaks, that's fine. I don't think you'd annoy anybody that way. No,
Mm-hmm.
not at all.
It's really I think sometimes just like common sense, isn't it? If in any job, would you go into a well-established organisation and just on your first week or so start going, oh, well, the way this is done is rubbish and all the rest of it? You just delicately sort of make suggestions, as you say. So yeah, just be delicate. Somebody
Yeah.
spent a lot of time thinking about it most of the time.
And,
Yeah.
and you never know who's written the script, because nowadays, it could be a researcher that's just working on the floor around who's written the script and is rather nervous anyway about their script. So
Yeah.
you never know who on that floor could have written it.
That's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And in the industry, we sort of move around quite a lot. Unlike say, if you were, I don't know, a dentist, you might change your job 3, 4 times over the course of your career, whereas a jobbing presenter would change productions and different directors 3 or 4 times a month.
Yeah, yeah,
So you get to your reputation does follow you in a way, doesn't it?
yeah,
So
yeah, definitely. And somebody who is a runner one day is an executive producer in a few years' time. So that's really important to remember. Be nice to everybody around, because they will. One of the runners I first had when I was quite new at it is an executive producer at the BBC now. So it's kind of like you've got to be careful who you're
Yeah.
being nice to.
Yes, be careful who you're nice to. Be careful. Just be generally
Yes,
decent, really,
nice to
isn't it?
everyone, nice to everyone. You don't have
Nice
to
to-
fawn at people's feet, or you don't, if somebody isn't doing something right, or one of the really important things, and this really, for all of you, if you go to auditions now or you're doing anything now, they're in this pandemic time and somebody offers you a job and says, oh, don't worry about that. It'll be, we don't need to keep to those guidelines. You do. And there are guidelines for filming and TV that are there to download. They've been put together by the BBC, ITV, all of the television companies, to make sure that filming is safe. So this goes, if you were filming outside of this, don't let anybody tell you, oh, we'll just do it like that, it's fine, it doesn't matter. There are huge health and safety things that you must be aware of, and if you feel unsafe at any point, or you're being asked to do something that's not right, then you should report it to either the, I belong to something called Directors UK, which I can report it to, but you can report it to the station like ITV or BBC.
And what are some of those big changes or the main differences now than it was before lockdown? Is it no audiences? Obviously, the 2 meter
Yeah, no
distance.
audiences. They've got. I'm not quite sure yet if makeup artists are allowed to actually do any makeup on people, because you still can't. Am I right? You still can't go and get your face done anywhere. So there's makeup artists. I don't think can work. They can guide the presenter or through what they have to do, but they can't actually do it. All equipment that comes in and out has to be sanitized and cleaned, and genuinely what they're supposed to be doing is different departments have to have their own areas to be in. They can't, and so like your dressing room, no one else should be in it. You should be areas for different people. Yeah.
Is it? I guess is that just slowing everything down? Is that like making it an even longer process now on set?
Yes, it is.
So being like really patient, because it was bad enough before. Let's be honest. If for a lot of performers, I've gone in and done a day's shoot, and literally, the shoot took an hour,
Yes.
and the actual rest of it, I was sitting around in the canteen drinking coffee, looking at Facebook for around about 8 hours. But now it's even.
There's an awful lot of sitting around. I mean, I try not to do it if I'm making something, just saying, but there's an awful lot of sitting around where things are sorted out and faffing. There is a lot of faffing and different departments setting up to different things. So, yeah, don't be surprised if you go and you're sitting around waiting to come on. And that is when, as I'm sure, Brian, if any of you have been on his courses, you need to keep your energy up. So if you are sitting around, waiting to do something, you don't let boredom set in, don't let anger set in because you're bored and have got nothing to do. So be very positive, and try and keep positive in that time. So when you are needed and someone says, right, now we need you, and it might be they just need you for a quick bit to do a quick section, you need to be so ready to do that, because it can be a bit boring sometimes.
It really can, yeah. So and that's all part of the performance, though, isn't it? Of a presenter or any performer, really, actors and everybody. They sit around for ages, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, great, go, you're on, bang. And so I think that's something that you just with experience you get used to doing. And it has to be practiced and practice. You just get better and better. So talking of practice, and we're lots of us been in lockdown, and okay, we're getting out a little bit more now. But is there stuff that, even though there's not quite so much going on out there, is there stuff we can be doing now? Should we be doing YouTube? Should we be coming up with vlogs and running around Oxfordshire looking for UFOs?
Yes, if you wish to run around Oxfordshire looking for UFOs, I think now is the time. Definitely. Yes, you should be doing stuff. And the weather's great, so you should be out filming outside as much as possible as well, because it is a good time to do it. Hopefully your mindset's right, because just a warning, not every day. I'm sure we're all like this. Well, I certainly am. Some days I get up and think, oh gosh, again, we're here. We're still in this pandemic. So yeah, on the days you're feeling good, get out there and do stuff, create stuff. I think, I mean, this is only my personal opinion. I think it's not good to go on about the pandemic and not good to go on about coronavirus, but try and still do things that interest you, that make you unique. So that make you, wherever you live, unique as well. I think there's an awful lot of stuff that is being made or has been made about the virus. And so I think we should ignore that and be creating really different content that inspires you, or things that you really love, things that you, I hate the word passionate, but that are quirky or different to you. I think that's really important. I've been having some one-to-one sessions with some gorgeous people, I can see some of them here, and I think each person has come up with some idea of what they can do that is different, that makes them different, and I think that's brilliant. I think they're brilliant things.
Yeah. So would you say that, as a performer, we should definitely have some sort of platform, whether it be YouTube or Instagram, or is that because I'm sure you told me once that you or one of your colleagues from, was it BBC show you were doing, you found a trio or something.
Yes, we needed a comedy trio for a program. We put comedy trio into YouTube, and there was one comedy trio for children, so they got the job, and that's how it goes. And that's why, it's all about keywords. There's a whole world in keywords. There's a whole sort of probably lecture in keywords, but it's really important that your keywords are keywords that people are searching. So you have to search your own keywords to see if they're what they're bringing up. But that if somebody at the BBC is looking for a particular show, say wildlife, or they're looking for somebody who's comedy, that you've got the keywords in there that represent you properly. Mm-hmm. But yes, to have your own platform, doesn't matter where that platform is or works for you, YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, find the one that seems to work for you and gets you the numbers that you need, and the following you need.
And one of the things I hear a lot of the time from people is, oh yeah, no, I'm not going to put it up yet because it's not quite right, or I'm just, no, it's not, and it's kind of like procrastination is the biggest enemy of getting started. That sounds blatantly obvious, but it is, isn't it? It's kind of like, if you're waiting for it to be perfect, it's going to be a very, very long wait. So start trying it, start developing it, and see what happens. It can go in a different direction. You don't know.
That's right. I think that thing, I mentioned it earlier, no television is perfect. We don't sit and make things and go, that's perfect. Never, never, ever, ever. Only people who have got big egos and think everything they do is perfect. So don't try for that. Try for your best. I think it's better to make something, and you'll start to see by putting something out there how well it's doing. You'll start to see and refine it for yourself, how you feel about it. You'll start to develop a sense of whether it's successful or anyone's watching or listening. So it's better to have some content. I mean, don't just splurge it out there when it is complete and utter rubbish, but I doubt anybody is making complete and utter rubbish. So at least you do it and let go of it. If you're a perfectionist, let go of it. And then don't say, I can't do it until I do this, or I can't do it until I get this. Do it. Don't regret anything. Don't look back and say, well, why didn't I do that? Because so many of us do. So many of us do.
Yeah. There's a lovely phrase. I don't know where it comes from, but it's something like, in a year's time, don't wish that you had started today. And it's kind of like, just get it started. And, we always say go ugly early, so just get it up there. It's not going to be perfect, but it develops and develops. And in a year's time, hey, it's starting to look quite nice. And that's when you're starting to build followers. And so then you're at that stage where you've got something to show I don't know, possibly people like yourself, but possibly casting directors. I think Karen's here as well, agent. Hello, Karen, from Perfect Match Presenters. So you'll have something when you approach people like that to say, well, actually, yeah, you can have a look online and you can see what I've been up to. Whereas if you're not doing anything, you've got nothing, and then you approach Karen or yourself or whoever and say, oh, can I see something? Well, I haven't got anything. Well, then you're not a presenter, are you? It's kind of like, do it. Get stuff, get the ball rolling. Yeah, super, super, super. Okay, so it's I've had you talk half an hour already. Time just flies past on these things. I'm going to open it up to anybody who might have questions for Helen. You can put them in the chat. You can also just wave at me, and I'll unmute you. Or you can again send an email if you want, or hashtag something. I don't know what that hashtag business is. I really don't. But has anybody then got a question to kick us off with this bit? No. Oh, there we go. Sarah, at the bottom there of my screen. I'm going to unmute you, Sarah, or you might have to press a button and unmute yourself.
Yes.
There we go. How are you doing? Nice to see you.
You too. Nice to see you. With show reels, what would you say to include in them, and how long should they be? How short should they be?
Whoever's watching a show reel, I think is going to watch the most important thing is the first 10 seconds and what you put in them. So you don't, because that's what they're going to watch to see if they're going to watch the rest of it, I think is the biggest clue. So don't put a prolonged title sequence or anything clever at the beginning. Get straight to it. Your name, and then get into it straight away. So the first 10, 20 seconds, I would say. It should be no longer than 2 minutes, but it could be between 1 and 2. What you put in it, if you're, what I often see is some people do live presenting, and they do as a few bits of presenting. I wouldn't put any live presenting on stage in it if you're going for a presenter job. So it's creating short bits, and Brian's the expert on this because they do it, is short sections. So it doesn't have to be long reports on anything or long bits to camera. It's short sections of bits you might have done, or bits you're trying to make people think you've done, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and again, it's things that interest you. And your show reel, if you want to do children, should have some sort of, again, should look at the language you're using and what kinds of things. And really for children's, it's how you explain the world to them in a way that understands. I mean, if you watch Newsround at the moment, they're using brilliant ways to explain this pandemic and how it's going. Blue Peter has done some brilliant reports on Black Lives Matter and so on, and the way they've used the language to explain things and to get across to children messages. So I think that's what you have to look at. If it's children's, if it's not, it's not so important. But yeah, short little sections from bits that you might have done.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily have to be things that you've actually done. It can be things that you've created and made up yourself.
Yes, as long as, and I think Brian would say this, is you're not pretending that you're doing the one show, or you're not pretending you're doing Strictly and putting the background there. Literally, you know, if you love sport, then you could be outside a sports stadium and presenting on some event that's happened. Not that much is happening right now. But if you love film, you could be outside a cinema that's doing a review of a film that's just come out. So it's that kind of thing, really. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with what Helen says there. It's a case of, if it looks like it's been professionally made, then great. If the person watching it goes, oh, that looks like a professional job, then that's absolutely super. But I would never tag BBC on it if it wasn't. I would never put up a lower third with the BBC stuff or ITV or any channel if it wasn't. I would invent a little logo. So it appears to be, and bearing in mind, there's 900 Sky channels. So it could be Sky Channel 582, which I've probably worked on at some point. But it could be one of those. And then there's all the English-speaking channels around the world. We're kind of lucky in that way. If we're native English speakers, that ability to speak English clearly, the whole world is open. So it could be even from a different country. I've got people working in Turkey at the moment on ATV. I'd never heard of ATV before. Why would I? But if that turned up, it's similar sort of thing to ATV tag. I wouldn't know as a producer or director that it wasn't a professional piece of work. It's just how you come across. But I think as well, Helen's absolutely right. Having the first few 10 seconds were your best bits, and then you've got a chance of them watching the next bit, which has got to be just equally as good. And within all of that, try to get your personality across. Try to show a few different techniques if you can. Try to do some walking and talking, bit of engaging and interaction with another human being or a puppet or multi-cameras or whatever. Show a few of the skills as well as personality and the ability to communicate clearly. It's a really important thing to get those show reels right if you can. But again, it's really important not to procrastinate and wait for it to be perfect. So get going with it. Yeah, just sort of like contradicting myself here, aren't I? But,
Is the quality okay? Just phone quality? Is that all right, quality-wise?
Yeah, phone quality is fine if you've got a good microphone. So what I would do is I think there's details on TV training websites about this, but if you've got a microphone that comes out of the phone, so you can be a bit further away from it and the phone could possibly be on a tripod. But I mean, if I can't hear something, I very rarely like watching it. So it's really lovely if the quality of the sound is good.
yeah, that's the most important thing, absolutely, because you can get 4K on your cameras these days. So I think there's a link in the chat there. So if anybody hasn't seen that will take you to a page on our website, Equipment for Self-Shooting. And all we've done is we've put a load of links through on various bits of equipment for microphones, for iPhones, for USBs and all sorts of external mics for cameras. It's just a link to YouTube and you can go and have a look at them. Easy as that. So super. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for your question. Nice to see you. Where are we? Anybody else? We've got lots of questions coming through on the chat there, but we've got Claire waving away. Let's hear from Claire. How are you? Unmute yourself, Claire, and ask your question.
Yeah, man.
Yes, we can. Hi.
I'm terrible with technology. So, if you don't have an agent, are we okay to just email you and be like, hi, I'm Claire, here's my show reel? Or is that, I always find, is it intrusive? Is it okay?
I think what is good to do, and it's probably what I did when I started out my career, it's fine to email people, but have an idea of what you're asking for. So an important thing, when I started out, I knew there was a lady called Cynthia Felgate, and I loved her work, and I knew she was starting a new production company. So I was trying to get in very early on that, and I did. But I think it's a good idea to know the children's industry. This is really fundamental. Are you interested in children's?
Yeah.
Yeah. So know the industry, know who's who, know what's what. Do your research so that if you are emailing a specific person, you know they're actually probably working on something or they have done, and sort of compliment them and say, I'm really interested, I'd love to be seen. Possibly, rather than, you can say, how do you select your presenters? So how do I get, to be seen? So it's kind of less straight in your face, here's my show reel, here, have a look at it, I want to do it. It's knowing a bit more about it is how I would sort of probably approach it more. So yeah, you can email. So if you know somebody's coming up on a project, and the way you start to understand that is through linking in with as many people as you can. I mean, some people have more personal Facebooks and Instagrams and Twitters, but I think LinkedIn is a very professional way to find out what people are doing. And Twitter's actually, you can follow people, they'll announce things on Twitter. Also follow the various forums like the Children's Media Foundation that is on they have a conference at the moment. It's all online with webinars and things. And look at who the big players are. And bit by bit start to make connections by asking gentler questions rather than forcing yourself straight on. I mean, yeah, and that's across the board on Channel 5. All of them are doing it. Apple TV's doing children's, Netflix is doing children's. Find out all the companies, the smaller companies that are making stuff as well. And it's getting that dialogue started with people, really. So they start to understand who you are, know who you are, and eventually you become a bit of an irritant and they give you an audition. Sort of how, hopefully. But that's how, yeah, I would do it. Get to know them before you just bombard them and see what you can find out.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
It's all right. Pleasure.
Super. And it's kind of like, you know, with this approach, it is like building that relationship almost, isn't it? And sending people updates, not sending them the same thing over and over again, but what have you been doing this month? What's different? So you send them an update or a new piece of a clip or something like that. And everybody is sending links to their YouTube and links to their Instagram. But there we go. How about this? Not everybody is sending these little beauties, are they? How many people haven't heard me barking on about these before? This is great because you can put a personalised message. So I'm going to be approaching Helen to see if she wants to make a UFO documentary around Oxfordshire. So if I'd never met Helen, I would film it. So I'd look at the lens, I'd say, "Hi Helen, we haven't met, but I wanted to say hello because I've got this fabulous idea about UFO." So basically it's my covering letter that I would normally write, but I would do it in 30 seconds? Really short and punchy. And then after that, have my show reel play. Now send that in a bubbled wrap envelope to BBC Glasgow or wherever you find an address. And as soon as you open it, it starts playing. I'll bet this one isn't charged. Okay, this one isn't charged. But you open it and it starts playing. Preparation is really important, guys, before you do anything. So make sure all your equipment is working and ready. And that just plays automatically when you open it. And it's called just a video brochure. Again, follow that link to our website and have a look down that page. There's some video brochures on YouTube that you can, on Amazon that you can get if you want to do that approach. And that really stands you out. It really does. So doing things like that, I think if you go to all that effort, that's where you get noticed. And because there's lots of people writing stuff to producers and directors and companies, aren't there? So yeah, I did see a question actually from somebody as well. Where was this coming in from? Instagram. It's Tilly actually on Instagram is saying, with things like Instagram posts and accounts and Facebook accounts, and should you have one that is like a professional one and then have your personal one separate, or can you just mish it all up together and send and have that as your account?
I would personally, I think if you've got one, it should be a professional one. That's my personal view, because I think otherwise it gets messed up with all your things that you want to put up. I don't know, pictures of you with your friends or something. So I think it's always better to have a professional one with your professional sort of, whoever you are. Not everyone, I mean, some people will have the same name professionally and some people will have a shortened name or a nickname or something. So yeah, I would say always have a separate one, and that I would say goes for Facebook as well, if you still use that. It's keeping it neat and tidy. So if it was to be searched, and all the companies do search your profile as best they can, because they want to make sure you're the right person, particularly in children's. They want to make sure there's nothing nestling in there that's not going to be good for them, that's going to be in the papers. So it is good to keep it clean, I think. Yeah.
So do you think that the reason I'm not getting too many corporate jobs at the moment is because of my profile picture of me in a mankini? Probably,
Brian. I would imagine that is the case.
Yeah, because people, they search it, they're going to have a look. So just didn't you hear, you told me once that, was it you or a colleague was searching or looking on Instagram or Facebook and saw pictures of somebody out, or, enjoying a one or two too many pints or something.
Yeah, the company I was working for, we were making an English version of High Five, a British version of High Five, and it's originally made in Australia. And 2 people didn't get the job because of their drinking pictures on Facebook. Because the pressures are quite high. It's a tight turnaround. Our budgets in children are tight, and in younger children's they're incredibly tight. So you have to be very good at learning things and producing stuff very quickly. So often you're learning stuff the night before to do the next day, and again that night to do the next day. And nobody can afford somebody to be tired or ill. So you have to look after yourself. And if you see pictures of obviously somebody constantly out drinking, you think maybe they're not the best people to do the job. So it's that whole thing of watching your social media completely, so that you have to be squeaky clean, but so that there's nothing anyone can find on it that's not appropriate for children's television. And it is that. It's getting that discipline of learning stuff. And on that note, just often we think of learning stuff when you're doing plays, but there's quite a lot to learn in children's if you're going to get involved. So if you're not good at learning stuff and remembering it, it's a good practice to do, to just try learning stuff and regurgitating it, because it's often, people, they learn it the night before, do it the next day, and then drop it out of their head. But that's quite a skill to do that. So it's one thing to practice, really.
Yeah. So your mind or brain is like any other muscle. The more you use that skill, the better you get at it. And you'll be happy once you get on set that you are well practiced and rehearsed in that. Absolutely, I can't agree with that more. Okay, and any other questions we've got with our people here on the Zoom session? Give us a wave, or if you haven't got your camera on, give us one of those little wavy hand things in the reactions. Or I will go back to any questions about anybody here. There we go. We've got Janet. There we go, Janet. You want to unmute yourself, Janet? There we go.
Hello, everyone. I have a very general question. What are the challenges of being a TV presenter?
Ooh. Ooh. Where do we start?
Oh, gosh.
Sorry.
The challenges of being a TV presenter. I think the biggest challenge is that it's we've sort of touched on before, is that it's you. Being a television presenter is you. It's what you look like. It's not you're not in a part or anything, and so it's that confidence in yourself, because it's very easy to get knocked. It's very easy to get knocked, not just by social media, but by one director saying something to you that they didn't think they were saying, just being a bit brutal or a bit rough. And they probably didn't think it was going to upset you, but just saying, oh, the way you did that, can you not do that? Or can you do it a bit quicker or something? And I think you've got to be careful that as a presenter, that you hold true to yourself and not constantly be swayed by all those things. Listen to what they want. I can do it quicker. I can do this, but don't change your whole personality. I've seen a lot of television presenters get into difficulties with mental health just because they took everything very personally. You can't afford to do that. So for me, that is what I think's the toughest thing. And not seeing other presenters and thinking, oh, I want to be like them, or they're doing better than me. It's inevitable. This is what happens, and it happens with actors. But just stick to your guns, stick to who you are, believe in yourself, I think is one of the things. But Brian might have another. Yeah,
no, I think, there's loads, isn't there? But I think one of the skills, one of the challenges is just being adaptable to because as we mentioned earlier on, a normal presenter, you might be going to 4 different jobs in a month. That's 4 different producers, 4 different directors, and they all do it different, There isn't a guidebook that says this is the ABC of how to direct. They're creative people. They have different angles on it, and they all do it differently and like different things. And then you come along to this well-oiled machine, and have to slot in and make it work. So sometimes it can get a bit confusing when you first start, because you think, well, I've never done it like this before. That's going to happen. So it's not one of those things where you can turn up and say, oh, well, I've never done it like that, and this isn't how it's done. On that production, it is done like that. So adapt. And that can be a challenge for some people too. But actually, if you just listen to what people are saying and try it out and, go with it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank
You're
you.
very welcome. Super. Thanks for your question. And where are we? Who else has got a question for... Oh, there we go. We've got Alaya, is that? Alaya? Unmute yourself if you can there. Hello. How are you doing?
Hiya. Excuse me today. So I've got 2 children. One is 4 and the other one is 14 next week. So I love to work with kids, and my question would be somewhere along the lines is that they're 2 different ages. So if I was to be going for a presenting job, or if I was to be given one, would they then tell me roughly what age group I'm working towards? Would it just be all under 18s? Or do I have to sort of be that childlike presenter and try to aim for every single age group that I can?
I think, first of all, I think you need to think, what do you want to do? Who do you want? What are the things that you are fascinated by, inspire you? And
the imagination thing.
Yeah, imagination. And is that more of a younger age group that you're interested in?
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, I think you stick with that. That's what makes you you. So you stick with doing things that interest you, that appeal to you in communicating with that age group. And then you focus on all the companies and all the people that make that
around
kind of age group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Stick to that. Stick to what makes you feel good, because then you'll be better at it and more genuine at it, and so on.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all right.
Thank you. Super. Here's a good question from Hayley. How important is an agent for getting seen for a job? Well, we have an agent here, don't we? Sorry to jump on you like this, Karen. Is it okay if we just unmute you for a sec? Is that okay?
Yeah,
hello,
yeah.
How are you? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Good, good, good. You probably weren't expecting to have to do some work today, well, you're just enjoying the... Okay, so how important is it to get seen? Now, we've spoken about this before, haven't we, Karen? And, I always think sometimes people go, once I get an agent, my job's done here. Is that the case?
No, do you know, I'd say it's twofold, actually. Obviously, agents have connections with certain producers, certain TV companies, etc. But if you're looking for something, to go into something specific, the agent can be working on your behalf, but work yourself as well. And as Helen was talking about, have your clips up on YouTube, film them, and get that out there, so that it might be that somebody is doing a search rather than I for some reason don't know that something's coming up. I should know, but maybe I don't, and they might come across you, and then contact the agent directly if you're listed with an agent. So I'd say, it can be twofold. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be with an agent. Still get your work out there, get it up there. And it could be that, you're found from, and as Helen pointed out there, they were looking for that trio. They did a search and there they popped up. Yeah.
So it's almost like with an agent, when it comes to finding work between the performer and the agent, that's kind of teamwork. That you're working together to find yourself work. When you secure that job, that's when you can say, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Agent, that's really down to you then, I think, to go, right, let's make sure we get a decent contract, make sure everything, all the dots and I's are ticked and all the rest of it. And then, and that's a really big advantage of having an agent as well, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, we take care of all of that, and obviously our interests are with our presenter to, you know, get them the best deal that we possibly can. But obviously, working together with the producers, the production house, with what they've got and what they're offering, so that, you know, everyone's happy.
Yeah, super. Well, Karen, thank you so much
Pleasure as
for giving
always.
us a few comments there.
Can I
Oh,
just add something? Can I just
yeah.
add something? A lot of people, I don't know what you think, Karen, they moan about their agent. So you'll get a lot of people going, oh, my agent's just not doing anything for me. They're just not working for me. And you'll probably hear that a lot from maybe people in the business or actors or so on. And there are bad agents, but genuinely, it isn't just about your agent doing it. As Karen says, you must create that communication. You must help them. So if there's somebody at a company, you think, oh God, I need to find a connection there, then your agent can help you do that. But it is that working together, not just moaning about them.
Yes,
Yeah,
nobody likes a
absolutely.
moaner, do they? Nobody likes a moaner.
And actually, interesting, it's a really good point Helen made there about people that do moan. You know, sometimes, you know, I say to my presenter, come and be with me for a couple of days, and see what is going on, so that you see it from the other side as well.
Yeah.
Yes, and that can be a real eye-opener for people. You know, presenters that have been with me for years and years, you know that and realise, but it might be, you know, sort of people starting out that feel that nothing is happening, but believe me, there's behind the scenes, you know, we're always badgering away. And I've said before, you know, our agency is a fairly new, young agency, so we're just 3 years old. We only had our three-year birthday in May, so, you know, we really are sort of going gung-ho as much as we can for everyone, as much as possible.
Yeah, super. Now, Karen, are we? Is it next week we're having a web? Is it next week?
I think it is, Brian.
Oh,
Goodness,
how
I think
exciting!
we are back on again.
So join us next week, and then you can actually put all your questions to Karen, presenter agent. How about that? We're very lucky. I really look forward to that, and thanks again, Karen. Super stuff.
Always a pleasure.
Cheers, thank you. Okay, let's go and see if because we're just coming up to an hour, so we're running out of time rapidly. What? There we go. Lydia, is that right? Unmute yourself, Lydia, if you can. There we go. Super.
Hello, you're right there. Apologies in advance, I'm very new to this. I assume the majority of children's television is filmed in advance. Is any of it filmed live? And when it's filmed in advance, is it filmed over several days? Or is it all sort of in one day?
Oh, sorry, Helen, stop. You're. I can't hear Helen. What's happened to Helen? Hold on. Where's Helen gone?
Hello.
Oh, that's better. Yes. Hello.
Sorry, that's quite a big question. So many things are filmed in different ways. So if you're talking about CBBC, Crackerjack that they brought back is filmed live. So that's filmed live sort of over Fridays and Saturdays over a period of time. Sam and Mark's Friday Wind Up was live, obviously. The Saturday Mashup is got recorded bits that they play in, but it's live. Something like Justin's House, which I should be making right now, is filmed over it's about 2 months of filming, and we film once a week. We film 2 shows, and it's live. It's shot as live, but then we do edit it afterwards. But because we have an audience, we like to keep it going. So we've been rehearsing it in the week, and then we record on the Thursday, and that happens every week for 2 months.
Ah, right.
So it's quite a long. In fact, it's longer than 2 months, but it goes over a long period. Other things, you'll something like something special. They film for weeks and weeks with the children, and then the tumbles are done over 5 weeks. So, and that's in a different studio. So, sort of every production is done slightly differently depending upon what you're doing. And the production that I might be working on in September in Scotland is just children, young children, and their families. So that is done. And when you're working with young children, their hours are so short, and a lot of the time they fall asleep in the afternoon. So, and it is true, they fall asleep. I've had them fall asleep on the floor, and you go, well, we can't film today.
Yeah.
That's done with a lot more time over kind of months and months. So if we do that, if we get to do it, that will be over we'll be filming over October and November. two teams tagging each other. So everything varies really. But once you're in a studio, so once you're in there, you kind of have to get, the minute you're in a studio, the money is so expensive. Just a day in the studio, I don't even know a figure because it's too horrendous, but you just can't waste time. So that's why Swashbuckle, that we left in the middle, which is done over a consistent sort of time, 5 weeks, we were 2 weeks short. But the sad thing about that in terms of money is that because you have to take all the set out, we've now got to put all the set back in again, and all of that costs huge amounts of money. So yeah, it varies. Good question.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. That was really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your question. Lovely job there. We've got time for just a few more questions. Here's one coming in from, is that Belinda from Australia? How about that? People listening in Australia, we're global. Woo! And Belinda's asking, is there much opportunity here, as it sounds, is there much opportunity in Australia? Oh, I think that might be beyond our knowledge, if I'm honest.
No,
do you know?
Australia's brilliant because Australia still has Play School. And they have quite a bit of money in children. So yeah, get involved with Play School if you're in Australia.
Cool.
Absolutely get involved with Play School. Because it's a friend of mine went over to sort of do a placement over in Australia. I think she was feeling a bit miserable, so she left the country and went to Australia and worked on Play School for a while. But it's a good learning curve. As is Canada's got quite a lot of money that it puts into children's television, which is another great place to get involved in children's television.
Yeah. And how do you get into it? Well, as we've been saying, you're sending videos, you're making your videos and starting a relationship, if possible, sending updates, etc., etc. Good. Let's have a look. What else have we got? We have got Tilly. We've done that one on. Should I have 2 show reels, one for children's and one for adults?
Probably. What do you think, Brian? Probably yes.
I think it's a good idea. Yeah, I think. I sometimes worry that as performers, we're very much sometimes, we'd like to show people everything we can do just in case it's relevant. So I can juggle and I can also sing. Also, I can do a little bit of circus, riding on a pony and waving my arms around. I can also play the banjo. I'm an actor, a model, and I'm a presenter, and I can do weather, I can do sports, and it's kind of like, well, actually, it sounds like you're a bit of a jack of all trades, and you're just giving everything a bit of a go. So sometimes I think being quite specialised, if that's the right word, but certainly jumping between genres like children's TV and then, mainstream adult TV, I think is possibly a mistake. And if you can do 2, I certainly would. I had two show reels when I was presenting. Oh yeah.
What were the 2, Brian?
So I had the live and interactive stuff, so all the shopping telly and all the live stuff like that, and then something that was just a bit more mainstream, so it wasn't live and interactive and shopping and stuff like that. And that was just to separate those 2, because I felt at the time some people used to turn their nose up at shopping TV presenters, and I thought we were great. Come on, who doesn't like a toaster now and then to be...
I also think that it's a bit like, I'm actually helping my son apply for jobs at the moment, and it's a bit like every job application you go to, you've got to really read carefully through what they're asking for, and then adapt what you're saying to that, and adapt even your CV, kind of adapt different things on your CV to what they're saying. And I think the same applies with the show reel, that if you see something, I mean, obviously you've got your general show reel, which you're going to send out on spec, but if there's something that you really think, oh, I should tailor this to more to that, and even if it requires that you go out and film something which fits more what they're saying, then you should do that. So it's an ever-changing thing. Don't think of a show reel as just, well, I've done it now, that's it, I can use that for anything. It's not. It is got to be constantly sort of thought through and updated.
Mm-hmm. So learning to edit yourself is a really good idea.
Yeah. or either learning to edit yourself or having a very good friend that can do it for you.
Yeah, sure, sure. Okay, well, listen, we're already past the hour, so if anybody's got any last-minute questions there, give us a wave. We got Joanna again there at the top. Let's unmute you if we can. That's the way. Joanna, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you guys so much. It's all been really useful information. This area I haven't done a lot of research in because it's something I'm going into new, and it's basically the difference between using BSL and sign language for that exact audience, for those of hard of hearing, and then also in terms of children's entertainment and presenting, because they have like separate platforms, and the only one that I really know of is like Mr. Tumnus. I need to do more research on it, but I was wondering if there is a bigger or a platform within children's entertainment to do that on presenting that isn't Mr. Tumnus.
To include BSL.
Yeah.
So Justin, when we do Mr. Tumble, he uses Makaton, which
he does.
Phillips used years ago. So Makaton's more for special needs or children who have mobility issues because it's less detailed. Am I right?
Yes, yeah.
But I mean, generally what they do with BSL, they have shows that they put out and then they have somebody signing in the corner. What I think needs to happen, and I think children's is probably going along this way, and I think that it needs to be more integrated generally
agreed.
in what we're doing, and I don't like this whole idea of somebody standing in the corner, and I think it doesn't hurt if people or presenters know how to use it. And I think if you can come up with some material, or in your material just use it as a casual, everyday part of what you're doing, then I think that's a unique, it's a good thing. And if they see that, and I think ultimately, if you wanted to contact children's and say, I'd like to see it more integrated and I've got some ideas behind this, I think that's a worthwhile way of approaching somebody there. There's also the BBC Bite Size, which is the kind of whole learning and teaching stuff, which I think is probably where you might find you get listened to a little bit more as well. Which comes under BBC Teach. I've never quite understood BBC, but Karen is nodding, so that's good. So I think if you could find some connections in that area and start a dialogue and possibly come up with some of your own material that suited it, I think you might find that there's a home for it there. But equally so that if, you never know if at Milkshake or Channel 5, they might be interested in incorporating something like that. There's some really interesting independent companies. A lady called Jessica, who used to be the head of Channel 5, has started her own company. Is it Ivy House Productions? Just check that out. Her name was Jessica, and it's Ivy something Productions. But some of the smaller companies also, if you get a dialogue going with them, might be interested in developing some ideas like that. And just to get it home again, there is this BFI Young Audiences Fund, which is money that was put aside to develop children's ideas and develop some really original stuff. They have opened out, they've certainly given their first round of money. It wasn't necessarily all those projects would get commissioned, but they certainly get money to develop them. If you go and have a look at the BFI Young Audiences Fund, you'll see what sort of projects, and one of them might be with signing. I'm not 100% sure, but one of those projects has now been commissioned. It's an art program, I think, for ITV. So, I hope that helps.
No, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's really useful and valuable.
Super. Thanks, Joanna. Nice one. And did we have Catherine there? Catherine, unmute yourself if you can.
Hello.
Hiya, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Super.
Good. I was just wondering, are there any kind of general pet peeves that casting teams have when you send in an application, or if you kind of email too much or things like that?
Glitter.
Glitter.
No.
Don't know glitter, because it ruins everything. It's very bad for everything. I think the biggest thing is, if you're sending in for an actual casting that somebody's written, is read exactly what they want and only send exactly what they want. So if they ask for a casting letter and a video, a cover letter and a video, just send that. If they don't want a video and they just want a letter, just send that. So when it comes to that sort of thing, I think when you're contacting somebody without, on spec, again, no glitter, no silly things that are going to just be annoying. Keep it professional.
We've heard of, everybody's heard of that, the one that they send through to agents, or they send a Kit Kat and say, oh, I know you work really hard, so here's a Kit Kat, have a break, and by the way, give me one. It's kind of like, come on, really?
Yeah, don't do that. No corny jokes. No corny jokes.
That's me screwed. Yeah, does that help, Catherine?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Super, thank you. Super. Okay, so Helen, have we got time for one more question?
Yeah.
One more question. Okay, there was somebody waving. Who was it? Anybody got that one more question? Oh, there we go. It was Claire. That's right. Let's unmute you, Claire, and away you go.
Oh, it's gonna sound like such a stupid question. Oh, you got to ask her, Siobhan. When I'm sending acting stuff, I can just send my Spotlight link. But obviously, with a more tailored show reel, I know it sounds stupid, but I found this thing called WeTransfer. Is that okay to send to yourselves a WeTransfer? Or is it like, oh no?
I'm thinking about this. Some of the BBC emails have got a big firewall, and they don't, in terms of if you just sent it by an email with a link or something, sometimes they're quite bad at stopping things going through. WeTransfer is fine. I use WeTransfer all the time. It does require them to download it, which hopefully they will do. I think, again, if you've made a connection, and so they're going to look at it, WeTransfer is brilliant. Yes.
Thanks so much.
No question is a stupid question.
Oh, I'm sure I can think of one.
Apart from Brian.
Okay, just very quickly then, we've got Angela here from Australia, I think, asking how much are the video brochures. Well, they're usually about £25-30, depending on how much memory they've got on them. So again, if you go to our website and look at the equipment for self-shooting, you can just check it out on Amazon and see how much you can get them for. But just make sure you've got enough space on it to put whatever it is you want to put up on there. So really, I think that's just about it from us here today. A couple of things just to mention. Don't forget, next week, same time, we'll be back with Karen from Perfect Match Presenter. So you can ask her all the questions on all the inside stuff of how to get agents, what to do, what not to do, and bits and pieces like that. What else have we got? Don't forget, Helen is still offering her one-to-one sessions with us. So if you want to have Helen's full focus for an hour on your career, on your style of doing stuff, on working with puppets or ideas, and you just want an hour of Helen's time, you can't get better help and experience from a BAFTA-winning director-producer. So go to our website and you can pick those up. I think they're still on offer at the minute until the end of lockdown, I think was said. So they're £49 for an hour. That is an absolute bargain. It's not going to happen again, so take advantage if you want, and before all those slots fill up as well, because Helen is busy running to Oxford and back. So what else have I...
What's the website?
The website is tvtrainingacademy.com. There you go. If you look in the chat section on the right of your screens, you should see a link to tvtrainingacademy.com, and you'll see that on the homepage there. And just one other thing before we do go. If you want to work with Helen in person and actually be in the same studio and actually be directed and actually be there with me as well, we are reopening. The plans is the first week in September. So we have got a course on the 4th, the 5th and the 6th of September. Helen will be on the 3-day course as well as running a specific children's course as well. There are some places left. If you want to join us, of course, with all the appropriate preparations and stuff that has to be done, that will be done. And that will be at 3 Mills Film Studios on the 4th, 5th, 6th of September. Check it out on tvtrainingacademy.com. And finally, if anybody fancies getting started right away, at midday today, I'm doing a session with a few people on presenting skills, and I can look at your presenting style. We can talk about how to come across effectively engaging as well. Again, that is just £49, and that's at midday today. Again, you can follow the link on the chat area or just contact us directly. So that really leaves me to say another massive big thank you to Helen. Let's give her one of those virtual applause there. Thank you so much. We're so lucky to have you. And will you come and join us again at some point, Helen?
Yes.
Yay! See, I always ask this of my guests on the live session because it's really difficult to say no. So, yeah, verbal contract is binding. We all heard it. Great stuff. Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a great week. We're back 10 o'clock next Saturday. Thanks for Karen for your input as well. Really appreciate that. And again, Helen, we'll see you very soon, hopefully.
Yes, take care. Nice to see you all.
Big love, everyone. Take care. Bye.